Spirits of the forest, hear our call. We offer these tokens. Awaken the circle. Reveal your power! Baba, please turn me to human again, please.
You must die, since you don't want to perform the ritual.
In the peaceful village of Umuaku, in the heart of Igbo land in eastern Nigeria, 3 boys believed they were only looking for love. But what they were really looking for was trouble. Daniel, Chinedu, and Emeka had grown up together. They played football on dusty roads, fetched water from the same stream, and shared secrets under the big Udara tree near the village square. They were inseparable. But now they were in love, and Valentine's Day was only 1 week away. Everywhere in the village there was talk of gifts, flowers, phones, fancy clothes, romantic outings in town, social media posts that would make other girls jealous. Daniel's girlfriend, Ngozi, had already posted on her WhatsApp status, "Can't wait for my Valentine's surprise." Chinedu's girlfriend, Amaka, kept showing him pictures of expensive wigs and handbags. Emeka's own girlfriend, Ada, casually mentioned how her friend's boyfriend had booked a hotel in town for last Valentine. The pressure was heavy. One evening, as the sun melted into orange behind the palm trees, the 3 boys sat together on a wooden bench near the village square. "I cannot disappoint Ngozi," Daniel said quietly. "She thinks I'm capable." Chinedu kept his stone. "Amaka has already started comparing me to other guys." Emeka leaned forward. His eyes were serious. "There is another way." They looked at him. "My uncle once told me about a shrine in the forest. The native doctor there makes money appear fast, very fast." The air changed immediately. Everyone in Umuaku knew about that shrine. It was deep inside the forest, beyond the old Iroko tree. Children were warned never to go near it. Adults spoke about it in whispers. "Are you serious?" Daniel asked. Emeka nodded. "This Valentine can change our lives." Silence fell. The desire to impress was stronger than their fear. That night, when the village had gone quiet and only crickets sang in the darkness, the 3 boys left their houses quietly. The moon was bright, but it did not feel friendly. As they entered the forest, the air grew cold. Leaves crunched beneath their feet. Every small sound felt like something watching them. After walking for almost 30 minutes, they saw it. A small hut, covered with red cloth strips, white chalk drawings on the ground, cowries hanging by the doorway. A faint smell of burnt herbs filled the air. Then a voice spoke from the darkness. "I have been expecting you." They froze. An old man stepped forward, tall, thin. His eyes were sharp and deep, like someone who knew secrets that others feared. His name was Nana, the native doctor. "What do you want?" he asked calmly. Emeka swallowed, but stepped forward boldly. "We need money." "For what?" "To impress our girlfriends on Valentine's Day." The old man stared at them for a long time. Then he smiled slowly. "Money is easy, but nothing in this world is free." Daniel felt something twist inside his stomach. Chinedu hesitated. "What do we have to do?" The old man turned and entered the shrine. He came back with 3 small calabashes. "For 3 nights, go to the crossroads at midnight. Pour palm wine from this calabash and say your full names clearly. Do not look back when you leave." "That's all?" Emeka asked. "For now." The boys looked at one another. It sounded simple, too simple. But greed makes simple things look safe. They collected the calabashes. As they turned to leave, Enona spoke again. "Remember, the forest listens, and the spirits do not forget. They walked back to the village in silence. None of them knew that they had just stepped into something that would change their lives forever.
The first night felt like a joke. Daniel almost turned back twice as they walked toward the crossroads. The village was asleep. Only dogs barked occasionally in the distance. The moon hung low, pale and silent, like it was watching. Chinedu tried to act brave. "It's just palm wine," he whispered. "We are not killing anybody." Emeka said nothing. His jaw was tight. He was the one who suggested this, and now he felt responsible. When they reached the lonely crossroads, where 4 dusty paths met under a crooked palm tree, the air felt strangely still. No wind, no sound. Daniel stepped forward first. His hands trembled as he poured the palm wine onto the ground. "My name is Daniel Okafor," he said softly. The liquid soaked into the red earth quickly, as if the ground was thirsty. Chinedu followed, Chinedu Eze. Then Emeka, Emeka Obi. When they finished, they remembered the warning. Do not look back. They turned and walked away. Behind them, something shifted in the darkness, but none of them dared to look. The second night was easier. The third night felt almost normal, and that was when it began. The following morning, Daniel woke up to a bank alert. His eyes widened. A client who had owed him money for months had suddenly paid double. Chinedu received a call from an old business contact offering him a quick contract, payment upfront. Emeka checked his phone and froze. A huge amount had entered his account from an unknown source. He thought it was a mistake, but no one called to claim it. By afternoon, all 3 boys were laughing inside Daniel's room. "This is real!" Chinedu shouted, jumping up and down. Emeka spread the money on the bed. "I told you!" Daniel smiled, but something inside him felt uneasy. "This is too easy." "Stop overthinking," Emeka replied. "Enjoy your blessing." Within 3 days, their lives changed. They bought new clothes from town, clean sneakers, shiny wristwatches. They visited expensive restaurants they used to pass by only to look at. Their girlfriends were impressed. Ngozi hugged Daniel tightly. "I knew you would surprise me." Amaka kept posting pictures of Chinedu's gifts online. Ada kissed Emeka and said, "You are different now." Yes, they were different, but not in the way they thought. On the 4th evening, as they sat enjoying suya by the roadside, a small boy ran toward them. "There is a message for you," he said nervously, "from the forest." All 3 froze. The boy handed them a folded piece of paper and ran away quickly. Emeka opened it. The handwriting was shaky but clear. "Return to the shrine tomorrow night. Prepare for the coming sacrifice." The laughter stopped immediately. Daniel felt his chest tighten. "Sacrifice?" Chinedu forced a laugh. "Maybe it's just another small task." Emeka's voice was low. "We should go and hear what he has to say." That night, none of them slept well. Daniel dreamed of someone calling his name from the forest. Chinedu dreamed of being chased by something he could not see. Emeka dreamed of blood on Valentine's Day. The next night, they walked back to the shrine. This time, the forest did not feel quiet. It felt alive. The hut looked darker than before. The cowries hanging at the entrance moved even though there was no wind. Nana sat beside a small fire. He did not smile. "I have shown you that I keep my promise," he said calmly. "Yes," Daniel replied slowly. The old man stood up. "Now it is time for you to keep yours." Emeka frowned. "What promise?" Nana's eyes became cold. "For every gift, there is a price." The fire beside him suddenly flared up high and violent. "The spirits are pleased with you," he continued, "but they demand something in return." Chinedu swallowed. "What do they want?" The native doctor stared at them one by one. On Valentine's Day, bring the ones you love most. The world seemed to stop. Daniel's heart began to pound loudly. You mean our girlfriends? He whispered. Nana nodded slowly. They are the sacrifice. The fire crackled loudly, and in that moment, the sweetness of easy money turned into fear. Real fear. The boys looked at each other. This was not the plan, but the spirits had already started counting. For a few seconds after Nana spoke, no one moved. The fire between them burned higher, casting long shadows that danced like spirits on the shrine walls. The cowries hanging at the doorway began to shake gently, though there was no wind. Daniel felt his legs weaken. This was not what we agreed on. Nana's face showed no emotion. You agreed when you poured the wine and called your names. The spirits heard you. Chinedu stepped forward angrily. You said nothing about sacrifice. The old man's eyes hardened. Nothing in this world comes free. You wanted fast money. The spirits demand what is precious. Emeka's voice trembled for the first time. We cannot give you our girlfriends. Nana leaned closer to the fire. Then return the money. The three boys looked at each other. Return it? Most of it had already been spent. Clothes, reservations, gifts, deposits, and some of it had appeared mysteriously in ways they could not explain. How would they return something that felt like it came from nowhere? Daniel spoke softly. Is there another way? The native doctor shook his head slowly. On Valentine's Day at sunset, bring them here, or the spirits will take what they want. Silence fell again. A distant owl hooted in the forest. Something about that sound felt like a warning. Chinedu's anger exploded. You are lying. You are trying to trap us. Without thinking, he grabbed a thick piece of firewood lying near the hut. Stop! Daniel shouted, but it was too late. Chinedu lifted the wood and swung it with all his strength toward Nana. The moment the wood made contact, the air changed. A loud cracking sound filled the shrine. The fire went out instantly. Daniel felt heat rush past his face like invisible lightning. Then he heard a strange sound. A scraping. He turned. Chinedu was no longer standing. Where he had stood, there was now a tortoise on the ground. A large one. Its shell was dark and rough. Its small eyes blinked rapidly. Daniel stumbled backward. No, no, no. Emeka's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The tortoise tried to move. It struggled, turning its head slowly towards them. Its eyes were filled with fear, human fear. Daniel felt tears rush down his face. Chinedu! The tortoise made a soft scratching sound. Nana stood upright, untouched. You cannot fight what you do not understand, he said calmly. Emeka grabbed Daniel's arm. We have to run. Daniel hesitated for a second, staring at the tortoise. But survival spoke louder than loyalty. They ran. Branches slapped their faces. Thorns tore their clothes. They did not stop. Behind them, the forest seemed to whisper. By the time they reached the edge of the village, both were shaking heavily. They collapsed behind an abandoned kiosk, breathing hard. Daniel spoke first. We have destroyed our lives. Emeka's eyes were wide with terror. He turned him into a tortoise. We have to go back. Are you mad? Emeka snapped. Do you want to become a goat? Daniel held his head. What do we do now? Emeka stood up suddenly. I'm leaving this village. What? I'm not waiting for Valentine's Day. I'm taking Ada and going to Enugu. Distance will protect me. Daniel shook his head slowly. You think distance can solve this? Emeka looked desperate. I won't stay here and die. Daniel felt a deep war inside him. Fear on one side, guilt on the other. Chinedu was still in that forest, as a tortoise. Daniel whispered, I know where I'm going. Where? To Pastor Samuel. Emeka stared at him. Church? Yes, I need help, real help. Emeka scoffed nervously. Pray if you want, I'm leaving tonight. They stood there in silence. Two friends,
two different decisions. Behind them, somewhere deep in the forest, a tortoise slowly crawled towards the shrine fire, and Valentine's Day was only 2 days away.
That same night, the village felt different. News had not spread yet, but something heavy sat in the air. Dogs barked at nothing. The wind blew harder than usual. Even the moon seemed hidden behind slow-moving clouds. Emeka did not waste time. He rushed to Ada's house and knocked softly on her window. "Ada," he whispered urgently, "pack your things, we're leaving." Ada opened the window, confused. "Leaving? Why? It's almost Valentine's Day. You said you planned something special." "I did," he replied quickly, "and we are going to celebrate it in the city, Enugu, a better place. Just trust me." She hesitated. "Why are you shaking?" "I'm just excited," he forced a smile. "Please, hurry." Within 1 hour, they were seated inside a late-night bus heading toward Enugu. The engine roared to life, and as the bus left Umuaku behind, Emeka felt relief wash over him. He looked through the window as the village lights disappeared. "I'm safe," he whispered to himself. But deep inside, something told him he was not. Ada rested her head on his shoulder. "You are different tonight." "Different how?" "Your eyes look scared." He laughed nervously. "It's just stress." The bus moved through the dark highway, headlights cutting through the night. Emeka tried to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw Chinedu's body shrinking. He heard the cracking sound again. He saw the tortoise's human eyes. He jerked awake. By morning, they arrived in Enugu. The city was alive. Cars honked, street vendors shouted, music played from nearby shops. Life looked normal, and that comforted him. He checked them into a small but decent hotel. He paid in cash. He did not want any trace. Ada smiled as she looked around the room. "This is nice. You really wanted to impress me." "Yes," he said quickly. "This Valentine will be unforgettable." He did not know how true those words would become. The next day, Valentine's Day, started peacefully. Emeka ordered room service. He bought Ada a beautiful red dress. He even surprised her with a gold necklace. She hugged him tightly. "You've never done this much before." He smiled weakly. "I told you I would change your life." Around noon, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He ignored it. It rang again and again. Finally, he switched it off. By evening, they prepared to go out for dinner at a popular restaurant in town. As Emeka stood before the mirror adjusting his shirt, something strange happened. The room became very quiet. Too quiet. The city noise faded. He heard a whisper. "Valentine." He froze. "Ada," he called softly. "Did you say something?" "No," she replied from the bathroom. The whisper came again. "You owe us." His heart began pounding heavily. Sweat formed on his forehead. He looked at his reflection in the mirror. For a brief second, he did not see himself. He saw a shadow standing behind him. He turned quickly. No one was there. His breathing became fast. Ada came out dressed beautifully in red. "Are you okay?" He tried to speak, but his tongue felt heavy. The whisper grew louder. "You cannot escape." Suddenly, he grabbed his head and screamed. Ada jumped back. "Emeka!" He began shaking violently. "They are here!" he shouted. "They followed me. There's nobody here." He ran toward the door and out into the hallway barefoot. Guests stared. Hotel staff rushed out. Emeka was shouting at invisible figures. "Leave me alone. I didn't agree to this." He started laughing uncontrollably, then crying, then screaming again. By the time hotel security held him down, his eyes had changed. They were wild, lost, completely gone. That same night, as Valentine's fireworks exploded in the sky above Enugu, Emeka was taken away in an ambulance. Ada stood by the roadside shaking, her red dress stained with tears. Back in Umuaku, Daniel was kneeling inside Pastor Samuel's small church, and the spirits were still counting. While Valentine's music echoed through Enugu and couples laughed under bright lights, Daniel was on his knees inside a small church at the edge of Umuaku. The church was simple: wooden benches, white walls, a wooden cross hanging at the front. No decorations, no noise, just silence. Daniel's body trembled as he knelt before Pastor Samuel. "I made a mistake," he whispered, "a terrible mistake." Pastor Samuel, a calm middle-aged man with kind but serious eyes, listened without interrupting. Daniel confessed everything: the shrine, the midnight crossroads, the sudden money, the sacrifice demand, Chinedu turning into a tortoise, Emeka running away. When he finished, tears were flowing freely down his face. "I don't want the money," Daniel cried. "I don't want anything from that place. I just want to be free." Pastor Samuel remained quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke slowly. "Daniel, shortcuts always hide traps, but confession opens the door to mercy." Daniel looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. "Is there still hope for me?" "There is always hope," the pastor replied firmly. "But you must completely reject what you touched." That night, they prayed for hours. Daniel felt fear rise and fall inside him like waves. At some point, he felt a strange heaviness pressing on his chest. He began coughing violently. "Speak it out," Pastor Samuel instructed. "Reject it." Daniel shouted through tears, "I reject every money from the shrine. I reject every agreement with darkness. I cancel it." Something shifted. The pressure reduced. He felt lighter. But Pastor Samuel was not done. "Tomorrow morning," he said, "you will gather everything you bought with that money." Daniel nodded immediately. The next morning, villagers watched in shock as Daniel carried out his new clothes, expensive shoes, wristwatches, and gifts. Ngozi stood among the crowd, confused and embarrassed. "What are you doing?" she whispered. Daniel's voice shook, but he spoke clearly. This money was not clean. He explained publicly what had happened. Gasps filled the air. Some people mocked him. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Ngozi began to cry softly. Daniel returned whatever money he could trace. The rest he gave away to charity openly, refusing to keep even 1 naira. Better to start from zero with peace than to live in fear with wealth. That Sunday, Pastor Samuel announced that Daniel wanted to give his life fully to God. The small church was filled. Daniel stood before everyone. "I wanted to impress someone," he said honestly, "but I almost destroyed myself." His voice cracked. "I have learned that fast money can carry hidden chains." Pastor Samuel led him to the front. Water filled a small baptism tank behind the altar. As Daniel stepped into the water, he felt afraid but also hopeful. When Pastor Samuel lowered him into the water and raised him up again, something inside him felt new, clean, peaceful. For the first time since visiting the shrine, his heart was calm. But even as he changed, the consequences of the other choices were unfolding elsewhere. News arrived 2 days later. Emeka had lost his mind completely. He was admitted to a psychiatric hospital in Enugu. And Chinedu, no one had seen him again as human. That night, Daniel sat outside his house staring at the stars. The forest was quiet, too quiet. He whispered softly, "I'm sorry." In the distance, a slow crawling sound moved across dry leaves near the shrine. The spirits had lost one, but the lesson was not yet complete. After Daniel's baptism, Umuaku was no longer the same. Whispers moved from house to house like a harmattan wind. "Did you hear what happened to the boys? They went to the shrine. One became mad. One turned into a tortoise.
Some people did not believe it. Others were too afraid to speak loudly about it. But deep inside, everyone felt it. Something dark had brushed against their village. Meanwhile, the shrine in the forest grew quiet. Nana was not seen in the market again. His hut remained standing, but smoke no longer rose from it. Some said he had disappeared. Others said he had simply gone into hiding. But something still lived there. A hunter named Okeke was the first to speak about it openly. One afternoon, while tracking bushmeat near the old Iroko tree, he saw a large tortoise near the shrine entrance. It was not unusual to see tortoises in the forest, but this one did not move away when he approached. It only stared. Its eyes were not like an animal's. They looked aware. Humans. Okeke felt a strange chill run through his body. He raised his cutlass slightly, thinking of carrying it home for soup. But as he stepped closer, the tortoise slowly turned its head and blinked. A single tear rolled down from its eye. Okeke froze. Hunters were not known to fear easily, but that day, fear grabbed his heart tightly. He lowered his cutlass. "No," he whispered, "you are not ordinary." He stepped back slowly and left the forest without harming it. By evening, the story had spread across Umuaku. Daniel heard about it too. His chest tightened immediately. He knew. It had to be Chinedu. That night, Daniel could not sleep. Guilt returned like an old wound. He remembered how they laughed together, how they shared dreams, how Chinedu had always been the loudest among them. Now he was crawling slowly in the forest because of greed, because of pressure, because they wanted to impress girls for one day. Daniel knelt beside his bed. "God," he whispered, "if there's mercy left, please have mercy on him." Days passed. Nothing changed. The tortoise remained near the shrine. Sometimes, villagers claimed they had scratching sounds at night. Sometimes, they said the tortoise would crawl to the edge of the forest as if trying to reach the village, but it never crossed fully. It was as though something invisible kept it tied there. Then something strange happened. One early morning, Pastor Samuel gathered a few elders and decided to visit the shrine area to pray. Daniel insisted on going with them. As they approached, the air felt heavy again, but not as powerful as before. The hut looked abandoned. No charms, no fire, no sign of Nana. Then they saw it, the tortoise. It was sitting quietly near the entrance. When Daniel stepped forward, tears filled his eyes. "Chinedu," he whispered. The tortoise moved slightly. Pastor Samuel began to pray loudly. He declared freedom. He declared mercy. He rejected every evil agreement made in ignorance. The wind began to blow strongly through the trees. Dry leaves swirled around them. For a brief moment, the tortoise lifted its head high. Daniel felt hope arise. But then, everything became still again. The tortoise did not change. Pastor Samuel placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder gently. He said, "Some consequences remain as warnings, but mercy has already saved you." Daniel understood. Not every damage can be reversed, but lessons can still save others. Before they left, Pastor Samuel declared the shrine ground empty and prayed that no young person in Umuaku would ever return there again. And slowly, over time, the forest began to feel normal once more. But the tortoise remained, a silent reminder, watching, waiting. Months passed in Umuaku, but the story did not fade. Some stories do not fade. They become warnings. Daniel's life slowly returned to normal. But it was not the same normal as before. He no longer chased quick success. He woke up early and worked honestly at his small phone repair shop. The money was slow. Some days were dry. Some days were better. But every night he slept in peace. That was something money could not buy. Ngozi had left him at first. She was embarrassed by the public confession. She did not want to be connected to scandal. But later, after seeing the change in him, she began speaking to him again. Not because of money, but because of maturity. Daniel had learned something. Real love does not demand pressure. It does not force you into darkness to prove yourself. Meanwhile, Emeka remained in the psychiatric hospital in Enugu. Ada visited him once. He did not recognize her. He sat on the hospital floor staring at the wall, sometimes laughing softly to himself, sometimes whispering words nobody understood. Doctors called it mental breakdown, but those who knew the full story knew it was more than that. The money he once held so proudly had vanished from his account on the very night he lost his mind. No trace, no explanation. His parents spent everything trying to treat him. Valentine's Day became a painful reminder for them every year. And in the forest, the tortoise still lived. Children were warned never to go near that side of the bush. Hunters avoided that exact path. Even elders spoke about it carefully. Some evenings, villagers claimed they saw the tortoise facing the direction of the village, unmoving, watching, as if remembering who it used to be, Chinedu, the loudest among them, the boldest, the one who swung the firewood in anger. Daniel visited the edge of the forest once every month. He never went too close. He would stand at a distance and pray quietly. "I'm sorry, my friend," he would whisper. "I should have stopped us." But deep inside, he knew something powerful. It was not just one person's fault. It was pressure, comparison, the need to impress, the desire to look successful before actually becoming successful. That was the real trap. One Sunday afternoon, Pastor Samuel invited Daniel to speak to the youth in the church. The room was filled with young boys and girls. Daniel stood in front of them, not as someone proud, but as someone who had survived a mistake. He began, "I almost lost my life, not because I was poor, but because I wanted to look rich." The room became silent. We wanted to impress girls for one day. We wanted to post pictures, to show off, to compete, and we chose a shortcut. He paused. Shortcuts are expensive. Some of the boys looked down. Some of the girls looked uncomfortable. Daniel spoke gently. Not every fast opportunity is a blessing. Not every open door is safe. If money comes without sweat, ask questions. If someone promises you quick success without effort, be careful. He took a deep breath. I stand here today because I chose to run toward light instead of running away from my mistake. But my two friends, his voice cracked, they paid differently. Silence filled the room. That evening, many young people went home thinking deeply. And that was the real victory. Because sometimes a painful story saves many lives. So let this story remain in your heart. Do not trade your future for one day of impression. Do not sell your peace for fast money. Do not open doors you cannot close. Success built slowly stands strong. Success built on shortcuts collapses. If this story touched you, tell me in the comments what lesson you learned. Have you ever been pressured to prove yourself? Have you ever been tempted by a shortcut? Share your thoughts and subscribe for more powerful African folktales that teach real life lessons. Because sometimes a story can save someone before it's too
Baba,
late.
please turn me to human again, please.